welcome to the Waypoint podcast. I'm going to be your host today, Alec Bobko, and we're joined by Austin, Bo, Leanne, and Jordan.
What's up?
So,
Yay.
it's been a while since we've had one of these. Just a general, just BSing, hanging out podcast.
The mixed bag, if you would. Whatever happens, happens.
Exactly.
I'm gonna
So-
set something on fire.
Well,
Oh,
dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
So, like, you're just gonna let your soup boil over?
No, I'm gonna take some.
I heard about that, by the way.
I was gonna say, Jordan, you weren't even on that podcast.
I know all.
And it didn't boil over, for the record.
Oh,
It just-
what
it was-
happened?
It was fine. I was just worried about it for a little bit,
Oh, you went running out of the room at one point.
well, because I had to use the bathroom real bad. Maybe 30 minutes into the podcast, I was like, I gotta take at least I don't know. It's gonna be a very long piss, and I was like, well, the piss is already gonna be long enough, so I might as well check on the soup just to settle the paranoia. But it was fine.
See, I just thought that you were worried about your soup and
No,
went running
it just-
out.
Nature called. Nature called, and I used the threat of fire or whatever.
You don't keep a bucket under your desk?
Ew.
No, that's
Jordan,
something I should
ew.
invest in.
no.
We do not
No,
have to
okay.
invest in that.
Here's the thing. Shane Dawson does that.
Does
He
he really?
pees in
Because I was
buckets
making
and
a fucking
bottles.
joke.
No, he pees in buckets and bottles. Don't do a rule of thumb. Don't do anything that man does.
No.
Thank you.
Do
I
not
had a
pee in a
roommate
bucket.
in college that would do that on his drives back because he lived a lot farther than the college than others. And we're like, just stop. They have rest stops. And he's like, yeah, but that's gonna add to the time, and I get there efficiently. And I'm like, how do you explain that to the cop if you fucking crash into another car and they just arrive and you're covered in piss and your dick's out?
Okay, here's the thing. The peeing in a bottle thing should never be described as something you do. It should be, if it's ever even brought up as something you did, it should be something you did once out of dire straits.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
No
there-
other option.
There's acceptable reasons
Dumber
as to why.
and
That's
Dumb
what I'm
and
getting
Dumber.
at. Yeah. Sure.
Anyway, so just to kind of kick us off, I was telling you guys before we started recording, don't really have a spot to kind of just geek out about tech. And I watched this video from a YouTuber. I don't know if you guys know. It's called MKBHD. He's probably the biggest tech YouTuber.
Marcus
And-
Brownlee?
Yeah, Marky.
Yeah, okay.
I'm familiar with him. I just don't watch his stuff too regularly.
So he released a video earlier this week about what's called the Tensor chip that Google's going to be making for the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro. And basically, if any of you are familiar with Mac products, they just released the
M1 chip.
The M1 chip, yes. And basically, this Tensor chip for Google is going to be the equivalent to the M1 chip, but it's just going to be for starting off in phones. So
You think it'll move to the Chromebooks?
that's what he was speculating, that eventually could move to Chromebooks. And what the cool part is that now that that's being made in-house at Google. What's up, Austin?
What does this chip do?
It's a processor.
Is that all it is? It's just a
Yeah.
What does that
No,
mean?
why should I be?
So the
empowered?
processor is what it sounds
Like
like. It
the
processes
CPU.
all the information that
Yeah.
is going into the computer. The RAM then decides how much of that it can do at once / how fast it can render it. The hard drive is like the brain, and the motherboard's like the spinal column.
To someone that knows that information, I built a PC, I know what the individual components
Yeah.
do. Why should I personally care about the
So,
because I don't pay
because
attention to the
It's
outcome.
basically this Tensor chip is basically think of it like the CPU. So Google, they are able to optimize the hell out of it. And so that means better battery life, better performance. From what I heard, the M1 chips for those MacBooks, they almost doubled the battery life of those laptops.
From what
There
I
you go. I was like, what's
understand,
the impact that I'm going to feel?
Yeah,
from
So you're gonna have
So-
better performance, better battery life, and the
Intel found. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. I was gonna move on to something else, but yeah.
I was gonna say Intel found such small little things that their processor, because the M1 kind of sits between an i5 and an i7, found such small little things that their processor still does better on MacBooks. I think Microsoft Word was one of them, but wow. But Bo, idea is it's not a one-size-fits-all processor like Intel or AMD. It's made by Apple for Apple or by Google for Google. So, like, think of an exclusive game. It's so optimized for that hardware.
I see.
Because
Okay.
even the new iPads actually have an M1 chip. So, like,
Mhm.
hypothetically, they could probably run Mac OS.
Is this why my Mac never dies?
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah,
always
yeah.
charged. Fantastic.
Yeah. So
Assuming you have one with the M1 chip.
Yeah.
I have the newest. It's school gave it to me. It's the
Yeah, but they
newest
still-
version of
yeah.
the MacBook Pro.
The newest still comes with both options.
I didn't get to choose anything.
No, I know you didn't.
They were just like, here's a laptop. Have fun.
If you have it near you, go and you open it up. There's a little apple in the top left corner. Yeah, you can click on that and go to About This Mac, and it'll tell you.
But one thing that I'm really excited about is so like the Pixels have been known since like the Pixel 2 as like one of the best like photo taking smartphone cameras. And he was speculating about this Tensor chip. They'll be able to basically take that photo processing like that they do and apply that to videos now. So now that they'll have, they're speculating that now since they'll have that crazy software processing they use for photos, that can actually be used for videos now. So they'll have both the best camera for photos and videos, whereas iPhone's kind of been the ruler for videos.
As like a pack-in camera? Is that what you mean? Or
Yeah.
just the processing of the footage?
Like, so Google does something crazy where they don't have like the highest spec like camera in a smartphone, but what they do have is their software, and that again optimizes the photos and makes them look insanely good.
So they make up for it in other places.
Basically, in the software. So they don't have the best hardware, but they make up for it in software.
Like they can teach the camera to focus better than another one in a way so that way it's like the lighting will look better, even though technically the photo is lower quality.
Correct. It's basically the post processing of it.
That makes sense.
The software makes it look better. So they haven't been able to put that to use in videos. So now they'll be able to actually use that. In theory, they'll be able to use that new chip to make that in video form. So I'm really, really excited about that. I don't need a new smartphone, but that video made me really think about getting a Pixel 6.
I'm roped into iPhone.
Yeah, like as an iPhone user, like I've been so impressed with the whatever the newer one is. Like I've been playing the League of Legends like MOBA, the mobile version, League of Legends Wild Rift, just like very extremely on and off.
Mm-hmm.
And it runs so well, and it runs so well that it like is hard to play Pokemon Unite on the Switch, like outside of the microtransaction like talk around it. Like I enjoyed Pokemon Unite, but it runs at sometimes 60 on
He has to be
Switch
docked.
docked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's sometimes when you're putting
the
it
FPS
all
counter
on.
was really handy though. Like props to them for putting the FPS counter in there. But I noticed that when you have a lot of players in one section and they're all doing their moves, those frame rates fucking drop.
Yep.
What? I need one. Hold on. I need 1 second. We have a rug that was leaning up against the table and it just fell. And I just want to make sure my kitten didn't just get crushed. So I'll be right back. Please continue. Don't stop. But I just want to make sure my kitten's alive.
But what do we do if he comes back and he goes, yeah, they were crushed?
Yeah, how am I supposed to?
I watched the first episode of Ted Lasso season 2 last night. I do not need this right now.
Oh, okay.
I do not need this
still on season
emotional
one.
rampage.
I don't know how.
So-
We just have to fill dead air until he comes back. I'm
Well, I was
terrified for the
I was
fate
gonna
of
ask-
this feline.
What processor did your MacBook end up having?
I took a picture because I got tired of holding it because it's heavy. It has a 2.6 GHz, which I think stands for gigahertz, but I'm
Correct.
dumb.
Yep.
6-core Intel Core i7.
Okay, so you got the Intel one.
It never dies though. And look, I have
I
a cute Westview sticker. Look at it. It's like a little stamp.
Oh, cute. No, I mean when Macs are new, their battery lives are great regardless.
Oh yeah.
I still have. Is your kitten okay?
Yeah, is the kitten alive?
He is. He's alive. I went out there looking for him. I couldn't find him, so I got a little worried. And then I look over, and he's on top of the carpet, now on its side. So he was
Maybe
just
he's who knocked it over.
probably, honestly, it probably landed
Mm.
on him, and it probably hurt, and he's just like ah, and then he wiggled his way out and then jumped on top of it because that sounds like something he would do.
He's now getting its revenge. He's just gonna
Yep.
claw at the rug.
And then he'll just fall asleep right there, mid claw.
My parents' kitten got stung by a yellow jacket yesterday, and I was ready to like murder someone.
Did it like
Yeah.
swell up?
No, she was fine. She just kind of screamed and went running to my mother and wanted to be carried.
Sure. I would do
Um,
the same thing.
yeah.
Not to the whatever.
Yeah.
Not to your
You're not
mother.
gonna run into her mom's arms.
But it's literally just like, and their kitten's insane. Like nothing bothers her. But yeah, I was just like, I will murder anyone who is responsible for this yellow jacket being in your home because she's tiny and small, and I'm obsessed with her.
What was the verdict on her laptop? On Leon's
It's an
laptop?
Intel chip.
Yeah,
Not the fancy one.
Womp womp.
whatever. It was free. I don't give it. Like it
Exactly.
literally
Exactly.
could be
Yeah, no.
anything I wanted. Like anything, and I'd be like, okay.
I got like one of the first models of the Google Chromebook at my high school when I was still in high school, and
Yeah.
it worked fine for me for what I needed it for.
I mean, the thing about the new Google chips that Alex was mentioning, I was like, oh, they could put it in Chromebooks, but Chromebooks are like the one computer that like I would recommend, oh, you could still get like under an i3 and this will run because Chrome OS
Yeah.
is so easy to run and
Yep.
nothing's ever running on the computer natively.
Yeah, but
But
aren't
just-
Chromebooks terrible?
Yes and no.
Because it's
Every
basically like a
cheap-
glorified smartphone in
Yeah.
laptop
'cause-
form.
Because Chromebooks were what a lot of the schools,
Mhm.
when they shut down, gave to the teachers for distance learning. since
Because
they
they're
co-
really cheap.
Yeah, and everyone hated them because they never worked. And they couldn't, like, they missed sessions all the time because the Chromebooks wouldn't work.
That I can't speak to, but like the whole thing is that they're virus proof because you can't download anything off the internet. All the apps come from the Google Play Store.
Oh
So
yeah,
if
that
a-
was the other problem was they couldn't.
if-
They didn't have any of their teaching materials.
Yeah,
so they were like,
so
"What the fuck is the point of
if
this?"
whatever program you need has never made a Chrome OS version, you're fucked.
Mhm. And they were all like, "How the shit am I supposed to teach? I can't download any of my files or any of this kind
Yeah.
of stuff."
But if you don't need all that stuff, or you know the couple of programs you will use have a Chrome OS version, they're nifty, they're neat.
Well, that's why I keep telling my parents, like, because they talk about getting a new laptop. It's like, you guys just surf the web, check emails. You don't actually like do any like video watching on a laptop. You literally just check emails. My dad plays solitaire. Like, just get a Chromebook.
Yeah.
Ooh, what if you want to play solitaire at 4K, 120 FPS with HDR? and
They
ray
do have a
tracing?
Samsung Chromebook with like a QLED or an OLED screen, but it's just not gonna run anything else. I guess Stadia. Who uses Stadia though?
I really desperately wish that Stadia actually worked because
No,
I'm like-
apparently. So from what I've heard, it's the like 12 people that have used it have been like the
No.
tech works well.
I
There's just
used it when
nothing
I-
on it.
when I was
Oh,
living
yes.
in California, I used it and it worked so well that I felt guilty because it felt like everything else that I was seeing was like I think it's like it was Matt Kim that put up the video of him pressing the spacebar in Destiny 2 and like pressing the spacebar, doing a gesture, and then the jump registers. Like I played Destiny since the beta
Mhm.
and played Destiny 2 on Stadia, and I felt no different. Like I had to get used to the mouse and keyboard controls because I hadn't played that at that time. But like I loved it, and I would like assume it was for the free trial that they gave a bunch of people because they're like, please play us, please. We
Yeah.
need
Yeah,
like,
where they gave like 2 months away free.
yeah, something ridiculous. Played it the first time and was like, this is awesome, and I can't wait for this to, flesh itself out, but it just seems like that's not going to happen. And I'm upset by that. Did anyone else try Stadia at any point? Or
No,
I did for a
Now?
little bit.
I've done PS
Um,
Now.
How does it,
Yeah,
how does it feel?
I've been thinking about taking the dive into PS now because I kind of want to replay the Infamous games, and I'm pretty sure they're on there. Last I checked.
And
they are.
in my experience, when it's streaming new games, because the first time I played PS Now, I didn't have great internet, and that right there is just it's just not gonna be a good time. But when I got decent internet to do it, there's always like a noticeable difference, good internet or not, between really
Yep.
old games and really new games. So if like you're streaming an old game that was like at least more optimized to be streamed rather than one made a long ass time ago, like I've tried playing Fallout 3 on PS Now. That was the only way I could play it on PlayStation for a long time, and it just doesn't work. The saving takes forever. There's a huge button lag. Like I could hit a button like the spacebar thing you just said. That was pretty accurate for a lot of stuff in Fallout 3. But when I got better internet, that improved, but it was still noticeable enough to where I was like, I can't play this. Like this is unplayable for me. It just takes me out of the experience way too much. But then I tried streaming something brand new at the time, like the new Madden or something, and it played just fine. Like it was great.
Well,
See,
isn't
that,
it? Go ahead, Al.
Oh, I was say that reminds me of like I have XCloud. I bought the Razer Kishi, which is similar to the Backbone controller, and I was playing the show in bed, and next it was basically unplayable because the input lag was just like I couldn't hit a single pitch. I was
couldn't give a good show in bed. It's okay. It happens to all of us.
You walked into that one.
I literally, like, as I was saying that, I'm like, I know somebody's gonna make a joke about this.
If you rewind 10 seconds, you will see the cogs in my head turn and be like, how am I gonna word this one?
See, I literally just saw the show in bed, and I'm like, literally, as soon as that left my mouth, I'm like, somebody's gonna make a joke about this.
Did you try to compensate for sorry, god damn it. Did you try to compensate for like the lag by hitting the button like super early?
Yeah.
Because I know when I tried doing that in Fallout 3 and it still just never worked.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry.
Sometimes you gotta compensate when you can't do a good show in bed. By flicking the button.
I will
Don't even.
Stop it.
Don't
Stop it.
fucking even.
I take blame for the second beat, not the third beat.
I will draw the line here.
Yeah, to steer this into, I beat Scarlet Nexus today, and I don't know how to feel.
Okay.
Because I know
I
that
need to play.
Good save.
I know that there's like the second side of the story with the two characters, and they have like intersecting narratives. And I care, like I want to see what happens on the other side. I don't know if I care enough to play another 25 hours.
A mood.
And just watch a YouTube video.
Yeah, but like I saw, I went to do that, saw a thumbnail, and then the thumbnail had an image that I immediately was like, oh, this is from that time that you came back in the story, and you said that you saw some shit. And I was like, oh, that'd be some crazy shit to see, but you see the shit, like when you play that version. So like I am excited to see what there is, but I don't know, how do we feel about the games that you kind of have to play twice to get the full story? Because I'm just not really sure about how. This is the first time I've at least cared enough to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still on the fence. Austin.
As an adult, I hate it. As a child, I was all about it. As an adult, I'm like, you cannot do this to me. I do not have the time to do this. So
unless it's like a really short experience, like I'll play through multiple versions of a Telltale game. Those are like 6 hours long.
I agree with you, but even then, like, if the option is to have it be
episodes.
one playthrough, that's like a solid 12 to 15 hours. Like, that's good for me. If the playthrough is 20 hours twice, like, I'm never playing that second playthrough. It's just not happening.
25 hours the first time on normal, and I also, toward the end, was like, oh, I'm kind of overpowered. Like, I beat the final boss without dying. Like,
nice.
Through all of it, this is a JRPG, so like through all the multiple bullshit phases, like I did not go down. Like I was not like it was, and I wasn't going out of my way to do side quests. And then once I hit a point where I just didn't feel challenged anymore, I intentionally didn't do side quests, and still, like that was 24 hours, 24, 25.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. It's like because I played the demo for a bit and like I liked the gameplay, but the story was like I was kind of skipping through the story stuff. It's like if I decide I want to play this, I will experience the story through the actual game, not the demo. But it felt like it was gonna be too big of a game for me right now. But like, if you just mainline the story, could you like get it done faster than 25 hours? You think?
Oh yeah. I think it's time to beat.com or whatever. When I looked it up, it said like around 20 hours if you're just mainlining it. Maybe less, but
yeah.
I was like the main reason I think it took me so long was because I did hit a wall at the lizard brain thing of just like I gotta just punch harder and be better, and then I couldn't. Did like maybe 5 hours of grinding, came back and was like, okay, now I'm too overpowered.
Does your progress carry over? Because I feel like being overpowered and playing it on an easier setting would help.
No, because I want to play it on hard next game because
it's a completely different story. Like it's two different characters.
Story. Yeah, you have access to different characters, and because of that, you have access to like different movesets. Like you can there are points in the story where your teams kind of converge, and you get the abilities of the other storylines teams. Like you get that familiarity with it, and it's kind of like a tease to play it again. Just like, hey, did you like this character? And they're like, you like turning invisible, but you played Yuito. We'll play Kasane's version and blah blah blah. All this, whatever. That's it. The story is like the most anime bullshit like that I've ever been witness to. Like it's so. If you've seen any shonen anime, it's that just 10 times a minute. Like they're just churning out plot twists and new characters, and tutorials are popping up in the last hour of the game because why the fuck not? Like it's so much. And if you're cool with that, then go for it. But like, I don't know. I am both exhausted and upset that there isn't more.
I get that though.
Feeling. But yeah, in terms, Austin, you said that you weren't a big fan of one story and then play it again for another. Like, is anyone else on board with that? Or
For the record, I in the sense of a narrative, I don't mind that. Just in the sense of lack of time as an adult.
Yeah.
And how that's framed, I just like Nier Automata. I played through it once. I don't have the time to go through and play the other 2 endings or whatever. I just don't.
Wait, how 25. long is one playthrough of Automata?
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Yeah, what did you say?
Oh, I just said because isn't there like one ending for every letter of the alphabet or something like that?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But from what I hear, every ending kind of gets shorter and shorter.
Yeah, there are some endings that are like just like a cutscene or something like that, pretty much.
It's like you die in a random spot. That's an ending.
Wild.
What? I love that kind of shit. Because I find one game and I like it and I can play it. And if I can prolong me not having to go through learning how to play another game, I will do it. That's 90% of the reason that I got the Immortal Phoenix Rising DLC pack is because I loved the game and didn't want to find another Switch game that was similar that I actually have the skill set to play. Because, whoa, Breath of the Wild is driving me nuts. It's so slow in the beginning. Yeah. I just want, like, mainly, literally logistically, I feel like I've spent 90% of my time playing this game so far just running.
Makes sense.
Just across a wide open field, just running. And that man runs so slow.
Not a fast boy.
I understand that
build up that
legs...
stamina.
Yeah, which I also don't love that I have to like cook and shit. Why am I cooking an apple?
Yeah, that's the part I said I don't think you would like is like the survival aspect where like you need to keep food on hand, you need to cook it, your weapons will break.
Played the only Legend of Zelda I've ever beat, and that's Link's Awakening, the remake. It's great.
Yeah.
So Breath of the Wild was the first Zelda game I've ever played, and now I'm playing through Skyward Sword, and I'm towards like the last third of the game, I believe. I just got I just finished the Water Temple and got the first upgrade to my sword last night.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it, and after this, like, I've been a manager at my store has been telling me to play Link to the Past.
That's like
these.
No, that's it's SNES. The original SNES one, but they also redid it on GBA. And like I'm considering it, but part of me wants to try the Link's Awakening remake as well.
Aesthetically, the one that has always appealed to me the most is Majora's Mask. But I hear like that one's the most polarizing, I think. Like people either really like it or they really don't, as in terms of like a generic Zelda game.
Because it's the follow-up to Ocarina of Time.
Which is considered like one of the best games ever.
Sure.
Not of Zelda, but like ever.
That's a valid point, but I'm literally talking about just the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like just the aesthetic of that game as a whole. Like that appeals to me and jumps out to me more than any of the other ones.
Well, the 4
game will always traumatize me personally because of the stage on Melee, the Smash stage where the moon was crashing down. Because I had no context for what that was when I was a kid, and saw like just this giant moon with a scary face, and then at certain points it would hit the stage. It scared me. Thought it would happen to me.
I mean, the 4 I really want to play are Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess. But if along the way I play Link to the Past either with SNES Online or on an emulator, and then the Link's Awakening remake, it's like that's just 2 more Zelda games I've played.
Exactly.
Are there any other ones that are more simplistic, like Link's Awakening? Like, are the 3DS ones?
The Adventure of Link, the second one.
Nah,
No.
no. Even I know,
think
like, that's not a good one.
the Game Boy Color, the Oracle of Ages and Seasons games are similar to Link's Awakening.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. You said, are they on DS? Am I right about that, or are they on Game Boy?
They were a Game Boy Color game.
Game Boy Color, okay.
But I think you can get them on Virtual Console 3DS.
Sure. I really like I was I was shocked by how much I liked Link's Awakening, like the remake of it. Like I just like the simplicity of that game as a whole. Like it's challenging, but it's never challenging in like what your goal is. You might get lost in where to go on how to get to said goal, but it's very simplistic on the surface, and it remains that way throughout the entire game.
Maybe it's just the way the screenshots look, but it looks like the entire map is like a tiny little block that's just there.
I mean, I think that's because they're emulating, if you will, the original game. And the original game literally was like they can only show so much on that screen. They can only show like little blocks like that.
And it is an island, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks just like here's your area. Like, and that's gonna change constantly after level, but it's not that big of an exploration.
I will say, like, the island itself probably isn't that big, but there's a lot of like layers to the island.
Yeah, no, I figured.
Yeah.
Because Zelda's one of those things that it's side quest, not side quest, but it's like to do one thing, you have to do 4 things, and to do each of those 4 things, you have to do like 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
And they're never extremely, like I said, it's simple, and I stand by that. But it's never extremely easy to figure out what it is you need to do next. Like, especially for someone who's never played a Zelda. Like I'm like, I had to give this flower to this dude. Like, I don't freaking know, where's the flower. What dude? Like, I eventually figured it out, and I did eventually use a guide for a few things. But
Yeah.
And honestly, I suggest using a guide, especially if you don't have a ton of time. Like I think using a guide is great.
Because in Skyward Sword, I got to the point where your like guide, that's like the goddess or whatever, or the little fairy thing that speaks for the goddess, was like, hey, you need to go to these 3 islands, find like the hidden flame on each of them, and they'll power up your sword. So you go to the first island, I'm like, all right, where's this flame? They're like, before you can actually access the flame, you got to complete this trial. And after you complete the trial, you have to get the flame from this water dragon. Then the water dragon's not going to let you see where it is until you get her water that's going to cure her because she's been injured. And then after that, you have to go through an entire temple and dungeon and fight a boss. And then, then the flame will appear. And I have to do that 2 more times now.
That dungeon is so good, though.
It is. It's a really well-designed dungeon. I really like it.
Do you know what playing Breath of the Wild has made me realize, though? And this might be because I'm also watching the show. I want an open world, like a World of Phoenix Rising, Breath of the Wild type game in the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I don't need to be Aang. I just want to be a human and get to run around. I want to be an avatar and just run around and learn all the elements and fight a crazy person and just have a great time.
I read somewhere today actually that a tabletop RPG was funded like in a day. Like
a Kickstarter, I think it was.
Yeah, like they exceeded their minimum that they needed by a ton of money, and they were like their goal was like a month or something, and they did it in like literally like a few hours.
Jeez.
I want it so bad.
So bad.
I haven't started Legend of Korra yet.
I haven't watched that either.
Controversial statement. That
I'm nervous.
Season 3 of Legend of Korra is the best thing to come out of the Avatar universe. I have said this before. You can scroll through my Twitter and you will find it multiple times. Like, not recently, but like whenever the Avatar conversation comes up. Like, I'm not going to spoil it and say why. I'm also not going to say that seasons 1 and 2 are good. Or season 1 is good. Season 2, I like, but I'm also like, I like it for specific reasons that I will not spoil. But like, season 3 of Korra, again, I personally think is the best thing to come out of the Avatar universe so far.
Go ahead. No,
that's why I was nervous to watch it, is because I finished Avatar: The Last Airbender when it was put on Netflix. Because I had never seen the last half of season 3. After following that show religiously, as like when I was younger, I just like never saw the basically the last part of Zuko's. This show's been out forever. I don't give a crap. Zuko's redemption arc.
He what?
You know this.
No, I know.
This
I'm
is
kidding.
the
I'm
part-
kidding.
You refuse to watch Avatar, and it drives me crazy.
Well, you make it sound like I've refused to. I just haven't gotten around to it. Maybe someday it'll happen.
You
I don't know.
watch Ben 10
Jordan,
every
did you
night
just-
for like the 18,000th time.
Listen,
and
there's a
won't
lot.
watch
There's a
freaking
lot of
Avatar
Ben
the
10
Lion.
out there. Okay, there's like
Yeah,
a
but
lot.
you've seen it before. You could watch a new one and
No,
be
but, like,
amazed
I'm
by one of the
seasons.
best animated.
I'm
You
about to get to the
literally-
part that I've never seen for Ben 10.
It's but
quick,
Avatar is
real quick.
legitimate. Sorry.
No, sorry, real quick. My apologies. Jordan got like 50 years older for like a second there. Like, did anyone else hear? He's like, oh,
Yeah, my bad.
so weird.
I'm watching
no damn Avatar. Is one of the best animated shows in existence.
Mhm.
I would probably rank it right under BoJack Horseman, which is high praise because that was my favorite show of all time. Like, you need to watch it. It's so good. And it addresses so many things that I did not understand as a child. And watching it back as an adult, I'm like,
Are we still
I don't
talking
know.
about Avatar?
Yeah.
They start with like
Okay.
genocide season 1.
That's
Yeah.
I'm
It's
like,
and they don't
our
shy away from
parents.
it. Like,
I'm like, our parents let us watch this stuff.
I really think
Literally.
that parents see cartoon and then just tune out. Like they just don't understand
Yeah.
care. Like
How many episodes is it?
66. I think it's
Not-
20.
not a
Can't
lot.
I just watch the M. Night Shyamalan movie and it's like the same thing, right?
I hate you.
Hey,
No.
please do not support him. He is a bad person. He's been accused of plagiarism multiple times, and he whitewashed a movie that is very clear about what those people are, where they're supposed to be from.
Yeah, I'm just
Don't
joking that
watch
the
that
movie's bad.
Watch the show.
I know that the
Every
movie is like
episode
taboo.
22 seconds long, or 22 minutes long, or 22 seconds.
Whoa.
They're 22 minutes
I-
long. They're not an hour. Sorry.
I did not know that M. Night Shyamalan was accused of being a plagiarist, but now it begs the question: why is he stealing not good?
The Sixth
material?
Sense, Signs, and The Village are the three that he's
Oh,
been
only the good
accused
ones.
of.
That checks out. Okay, that checks out. That makes so much more sense because I was like, why would he steal the script for like The Happening? Like,
Yeah.
why would he steal the script
But-
for?
Hold on. To bring it back to Korra, I really liked The Legend of Korra. I still like the original run way better than Korra. The things about Korra that I like the direction in, I didn't like as a final product. Like I like how different they made Korra from Aang. Like they are literally completely different people. They are not similar in any way at all. And the angle they take on like, because you know in the first Avatar, it's like book of water, book earth,
Mhm.
book fire.
Yeah.
Like that's like they do that in Korra, but they don't. If that Bo understand, I think Bo, you understand what I'm saying. Like they
Yeah.
do that same method, but they don't do it in a way that you could guess. I don't think.
Like so I watched Avatar, the original series. Like I feel Aaron, I'm so sorry because I have distinct memories of like playing basketball in the backyard and then me realizing what time it was and just like grabbing the ball, just fucking chucking it and being like, it's Avatar time. We gotta go. The trailer showed they're gonna go see this and we gotta go. And we would all run upstairs and have our moment. And there'd be fucking Batman Begins or what Dark Knight trailers or whatever happened in between. It was just peak childhood. And then advanced to high school, and oh my god, they're bringing back Avatar? What? But they're gonna be like older and like more like it's gonna be the next generation, like literally a generation further. Like, I can't wait. And season 1 personally like held my expectations. Like I thought season 1 was fantastic. I still enjoyed season 2, but when I rewatched the series, I kind of like remembered certain things.
Mhm.
But Austin, it didn't feel like it was a change from like the structures of the seasons, like the names specifically. It just felt like, okay, we ran out of the 4 elements. What would be the natural extension of where this would go? And it just felt.
See,
I
I
don't
would
know. I feel
one
like
up
the
I
way
would
it's
one up
more-
that. I would one up that one thing. I don't think they are the natural extension. I think they're creative extensions of that. I would go as far as to say that's how that saying goes. That it was more creative outlets. I feel like they had easier outs and that they could have used for that, but they took really difficult angles. Like I think is book 2 is the one that starts the straying away from it. I think where
Book
it's
2
like
is-
I don't want to
Yeah.
give it away, but it's like
Yeah.
far off from an element. I will say that, and it's like
But it also
Oh.
still matches up with the progression. that they've
exactly,
laid.
yeah. But I think the way they do it is
Bloodbending.
creative. I still like I love the direction of the show. I just don't think it works 110% for me, and I also think that the characters as a whole didn't work for me. My favorite character was I don't even remember his name, but it was
Varric?
like what?
Varric? Like the crazy salesman guy?
No, it was the guy who had like the pet weasel or something.
Bolin.
Yeah, he's my favorite character. And at first I hated him. I was like, this guy's dumb. He has no purpose. Or like his purpose is really obvious, and then he gets a lot of layers to him, and I really enjoy him at the end.
Oh yeah.
Is the weasel one of the layers?
No, but he's he's a bright spot in the show, in my opinion.
Speaking of Weasel, who else is seeing Suicide Squad this weekend?
Me.
I'm seeing it Friday.
I think
Maybe?
you can watch
Is
it
that-
on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing too.
I keep bouncing back and forth on whether or not I want to pay the $9 to go see it in theaters just because I want to go to a movie theater.
Yeah, I honestly was reminded that it came out this week because of AMC Stubs.
Mhm.
And then by the time I opened the app, they're like, hey, so pandemic's over, you have a bunch of rewards stacked up. It'll cost you $2 for you and your girlfriend to go see this movie. Please, for the love of God, we'll give you popcorn and shit. Just please. So I'm excited about that. The last movie I saw was Fast 9, which
Oh yeah.
it's the Fast and Furious franchise. I love it. I will never enter a
Mhm.
serious conversation and say this is cinema.
Sure.
I will enter it with passion and I will defend it. But if anyone is just okay, but almost any other movie, I'll be like, yeah. Well,
No, I totally get it. I use this term a lot for a lot of things, but I think it's very applicable for the Fast franchise. It is the epitome of a popcorn flick. Where you're just going there to turn your brain off and have a good time. You're not thinking at all. You're seeing dumb shit on the screen and you're laughing. You're not being like, but that doesn't. You don't care. You don't give a shit. You're just
something
like,
doesn't
that's
make
funny.
sense, you
And
laugh,
I think
you
that's
enjoy it.
okay. I think that is okay for there to be media of that type of thing where it's just like, here's just shits and giggles,
Mhm.
no logic needed. We're not
But yet-
make art.
But yet there's an art to there is a magic to it.
There's an
'cause-
art to doing it well.
Yeah. So
Yes,
It's the Transformers if Transformers was enjoyable.
So-
Transformers is supposed to be fun, but it also hurts to watch sometimes.
So I have not watched the Transformers series or Fast 9, but someone on Reddit once described it like this, and people are like, this is correct. They're like, Transformers is like seeing your uncle kind of trying to sit down with you and play with the action figures and not fully getting what they're about, but just getting the big concept. And Fast 9 is all the dumb shit you used to do with your Hot Wheel cars that you thought could physically happen, being like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, it is that. I agree.
That's accurate.
yep.
Yeah, Leon.
Popcorn. Why is this? My microphone hates me. I'm fine with popcorn scripts. My issue is with things that I feel now the Fast and Furious movies and Hobbs and Shaw. The writing's not even good. They're not trying to write in a good way, and that's what bugs me. Is because at that point I'm like, this is such an obvious cash grab. You had an actor die, and I feel weird about the fact that this is still going. Your main two people fucking can't stand each other to the point where you are writing one out of the next movie. Just let this die. Let it fade.
And the next one.
And again, this is one of those things where I don't actually care if they ended the Fast franchise right now and said, fuck it, we're canceling the rest. I would not feel anything.
Yep.
That said, if you're going into a Fast and Furious movie looking for dialogue, that was not shown in any of the trailers. I feel like they advertised, hey, we're going to show you some dumb shit. We're gonna tell you in the trailer, hey, we're going to fucking space in a Honda. We don't care.
Yeah,
or in a whatever the car was. I'll
Fiero. But yeah.
I didn't know
So-
that part.
Yeah.
I'm the trailers aren't trying to be. We're not John Wick. We are like Jordan said.
Mission
We are Hot
Impossible.
Wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the
So-
thing. I think the only reason. Sorry, Alec. Go ahead.
So I was real quick. I just wanted to say that it's been in all the trailers. Everybody knows they go to space in Fast 9. Let me tell you, sitting in a movie theater when those guys are sitting in space, I legit got chills and goosebumps because it's everybody's been joking about. It's been a meme at this point of them going to space, but then I'm sitting there, they actually fucking did it. They're in space.
Did they go to space, or did they go really high in the stratosphere?
No, they're space.
Space. Yeah.
And here's
they
the
went.
thing.
They went higher than Jeff Bezos. Tyrese
Here's the
Gibson
thing.
is.
I
canonically
feel
higher than Jeff
like
Bezos.
they could have saved that for the last one.
Here's the thing. Did they have
Unless
to
the
go to
last one's
space?
gonna all be in space.
Saying the last one is going to be the the
They
multiversal
go through
lore.
time. They go through
They,
time.
they're they're gonna go through time to save Brian. They're gonna do the dumbest shit you can think of.
Wait, what if they make the DeLorean real?
Going like as soon as they get the rights, like
Oh yeah.
like I wouldn't be surprised if like Fast fucking 19, Vin Diesel died, and Fast 6, like Vin Diesel the actor dies during the production of Fast 16. He puts in his contract, reanimate me, make me a 2-pack hologram, Tupac, Jesus Christ. Make me a 2-pack. Because I use the suburban you listening to 2-pack? Like I use that. Like I say his name like that more than I'd say his name normally.
I just love
I
Tupac.
apologize.
I love Tupac so much.
Tupac
Tupac
Shakur, Biggie
James
Smalls.
after he's worked out but hasn't quite got a 6-pack. It's
Yeah.
2-pack.
2-pack. It's gonna be Ready Player One.
Sure.
In 30, and it's going to be with a reanimated Vin Diesel, and Walt Disney himself will be in it, because by this time Disney will have bought the studio. Do they own Fast and Furious?
No.
No, that's
Who
Universal.
Not on
produces
Disney
Fast and
Plus.
Furious?
Universal, I
That doesn't
believe.
matter.
Universal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because
Vin
Fast
Diesel
and Furious
alone.
Supercharged is at the Universal Parks. Duh.
Oh, yeah.
I have two things I want to say before I forget them. One, about the space thing. Did they go to space? Yes. Did they have to? No, they didn't. And when
But
they
they
go to
did.
space, was it even that great? No. But I will
don't
also say
remember
it
why
wasn't.
they-
It wasn't terrible. Honestly, I feel like
can't-
they chose the right two characters to go to
Oh, yeah.
space and have that riff back and forth with. But when they go to space, I was like, okay, like it's just the epitome of this movie. Somehow they made because it's such a popcorn flick. Again, like I said, you turn your brain off and you don't care. Even with the space scene, I didn't care. I was like, they're in space. Okay. And one more note about Ready Player One. Ready Player One is my favorite book ever. Like I've only read like 6 books, so it's not fucking doesn't mean anything.
Audiobook is great too.
Sure.
It's narrated by Will
There's a lot
Wheaton.
of gripes I could have and I could talk about with that movie, but my number one gripe is that they make Iron Giant a weapon, and that is the one
Yeah.
fucking thing that he's not.
But-
in its defense, isn't it like an avatar? Like someone
Yeah, that would be like if
Yeah.
somebody.
But then don't use that avatar. You don't
No,
have
oh,
to do this.
Okay,
But
not
how about
everyone
everyone
has
to the
the
canon?
yeah, like
And from what I understand, the world of Ready Player One is like if Dreams had imagine Dreams in 100 years, like what we could do with it.
Dreams had an immense budget, basically.
But and it was easy for people to use and do that type of
Sure.
stuff with. I could make whoever do whatever because I'm just using it as a thing. Like,
Sure,
you know
but
what I mean?
Here's the thing. I'm pissed at you. Don't do that to my boy. No. He is not a gun. God damn it.
it's a
yeah,
drawing.
but if I want to draw a picture of the Iron Giant being a gun, I can. So that's what that was. It wasn't the studio
Yeah.
making him a weapon.
Wait, and
So
also
it's-
he turned into a gun in the movie. I get that the lesson is that you can change your ways.
Also,
and you don't
Iron
have
Giant
to be-
also voiced by Vin Diesel.
Okay, I'm
right.
gonna hop in here now.
Time is
Real
Tensor.
quick. I feel like with the Iron Giant, I didn't love that scene having the Iron Giant in there either. Also because I felt like he was slightly out of place, but whatever. I also felt like it was a fun statement because in that movie, everybody's like, "No, you're a weapon," and of course, some dumbass teenager watched this movie and totally missed the point. It's like, "Yep, I'm gonna make this my avatar and use it to destroy things," and I feel like that's fun.
Like
Or
there
like
aren't
these
enough giant
6-year-olds.
robots in pop culture.
I respect the Iron Giant too much to accept this blasphemy, so
I'm
that's it.
just saying maybe he was a kid playing the game. Like I saw Iron Giant when I was 6. I didn't know any of the fucking war allegories that were supposed to go apart with this.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know. I just saw big robot.
Sure.
Big robot
Yep.
shoot gun. Like
Did you know
When
Iron
I get
Giant?
inside the Oasis, I'm gonna dress up as Voldemort, but be a good guy. Like fuck it, nothing
Yeah.
matters.
I
When
got no
one
notes.
left is right,
Like,
purple is
Jordan.
yellow.
Jordan, are you drinking out of a Victoria's Secret water bottle?
Yeah.
that's what you
Okay.
said.
Just wanted to make sure.
What you gonna do about
so,
it?
in
Are you gonna
retrospect,
genderize my water bottle here?
No,
In
no, no, no,
retrospect-
no. I was just curious.
Ready Player One, like what that game or what that like it is a game, what that game is and what that movie is, what that IP is, that works, I guess. But still, the fact of the matter that they made him do that in that scene and they didn't have to utilize him at all, that's what upsets me. But I guess it is in the setting where it would make the most sense.
Yeah.
But still,
They had Tracer
I'm
in the Gundam. Like I was not going in like I don't know. I knew that they weren't going to play the Gundam theme song, but I was just like, they might.
Yeah.
Like,
I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
want to see Ready Player One, but like from what I understand, the book, because they're just making references, could use whatever the fuck they wanted, whereas the studio was kind of tied down to using whatever they could get approval for or already owned. Which,
Yep.
why a lot of people said it kind of just it appeared like it was just Steven Spielberg being like, look at what I've made.
Basically.
Also, did you know that
but also,
Iron and what?
I was gonna say,
Right.
but also Steven Spielberg's life is look what I've made.
Yeah,
Like
but
that's just
what a
him as a
flex, though.
human.
That's honestly
We
true.
keep
But
going.
did you guys know that Iron Giant was a huge flop?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it did
why
not
I felt
perform
like
at all.
that's why I felt like it was out of place in Ready Player One. I was like, this
Oh, no,
unless
hold on.
I'm unaware.
Hold on. It was a huge flop in like theaters. No one went to
Mhm.
watch it in theaters, and then when people when it came to DVD or whatever, people
VHS
loved that
sales
movie.
fucking
It
crushed.
made a fucking killer amount of money on like DVD and re-release and all that shit.
Well, that's where I was going. Is I was like, unless I'm unaware, just because I'm a moron. I didn't think it had a cult following like some of the
Oh, it
other
does.
things that flopped in theaters.
Definitely.
Okay, well there you
I
go.
see people
I
like
love
on
that
Twitter and
movie as a
Facebook
kid,
talk about
yeah.
it all the time.
Yeah, but
like
I see people on Twitter and Facebook talk about a lot of stuff all the time that nobody actually
true.
cares about.
I mean, it's in
No, but
Ready
what I
Player
mean is like
One.
in the sense of
It's in
like
Ted
a lot
Lasso.
of people our age have a weird connection to the Iron Giant.
Yeah, like that's a fact. That's an absolute fact.
But
There was
even
this,
no, go ahead.
I'll be done after this. I talk a lot. There was this tweet the other day where it said like, name your favorite animated movie that isn't made by Ghibli, Disney, and something else. And I put a gif of Iron Giant. I'm like, I fucking nailed this shit. Like, let's go. And then I got like one like, and I was like, fuck. But yeah, like
If I
I
saw
think
that, I
that's
would've liked
the
it. I
best
didn't
answer.
see it.
Yeah.
They didn't mention Sony and what we can't, so I'm gonna put it into the Spider-Verse, and I think that was an oversight on the person who wrote the tweet.
I feel like that was
Someone.
like the easy answer. Like it became. I sent that that tweet to my group chat, and it quickly became like everyone kind of offering their own things, and then me just being like, "Oh wait, shit, Spider-Verse," and then immediately everyone was like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah, that one.
yeah."
Someone
Yeah.
did answer Spider-Verse, and I was like, that's
How-
a good point. That's a good point.
How long does it have to be?
What-
Because I say this
What?
with this to be considered an animated feature that you could pick as your favorite. How long does it have to be? Because I could argue
The Ricky Tacky thingy.
Ricky Tikki Tavi has some of
Yeah.
the like most fun animation I've ever seen. There is an adaptation of the story by Rudyard Kipling, or however you say his first name, who wrote The Jungle Book, about a mongoose that gets adopted by a British family living in South Africa, and he protects the British family from cobras that like come up in their backyard. And they made a movie from it's a company called FH3, which if I'm not mistaken also made all the Richard Scarry Busy Town movies too. We had a lot of their VHSs, I don't really know why. But the animation looks like a storybook. Like it looks like they took like the painting from the storybook and made that the animation, and I'm really into it, and it's a very cute movie. There are parts that are legitimately terrifying, mainly the cobras eating things. And the father shooting a cobra with a gun. It's a very good movie though. I highly recommend it. There's a great scene where he sits on the little boy's shoulder and eats bananas. Like it's great.
I tried to Google the studio to see if it was bought out by Disney, but when you type in FH3, it just gives you Forza Horizon 3.
Nice.
So
It's specifically F.H.E.
now you tell me.
I just remember because that was the opening like studio logo was the F being painted in yellow, the H in blue, and the E in red.
Still getting Forza.
It's not like you announced you were going to Google search it, Jordan.
That too, although I should have assumed. I know you better than that.
Also, I don't know how it's popped in my head. You might say something terrified you, the cobra eating something. Weird moments that I saw as a child in a movie that I definitely shouldn't have seen. Has anyone seen Spawn, the movie? Like the old,
No.
Mm-mm.
it's like maybe
No.
90s or early 2000s. Well, there's a movie called Spawn, and it's about Spawn, and there's a freaking clown demon thing in that movie, and I'm like 4, 5, maybe, and my dad's like, you can't watch this with me, like it's gonna scare you, and I'm like, no, it's fine, and he's like, it will scare you, like I promise you. I'm like, no, I'm a big kid, I can watch this. Like 20 minutes in, I see this clown thing, and I literally shit my pants. I literally shit my pants.
Nice.
To this day, I have only watched that movie one time, and it was just to see if I shit my pants again.
Did you?
No,
Okay.
kind of
Pissed this
upsetting.
time.
But yeah, no, that there's a scene in that movie that if you're a child, you cannot watch this fucking movie. Like the
Yeah.
way it's animated and all that, like it does not help with like it helps with how terrifying it is. But if you're a child, whew,
I've been trying to force myself to enjoy and appreciate, not enjoy, but like appreciate from just like an artistic standpoint, like the craft of horror or whatever. Because I've realized like I really like H.P. Lovecraft's stories. Like it's a horrible person. Look up his pet's name if you need. Look up his cat's name if you need like just an example of how horrible he is or was because he's long dead. That said, I liked the feeling of being unsettled, and I was like, how can I further this? And I found this. I also want to say I don't know the name of these movies. I will never watch these movies, or in this case, it's Caro. I think is how you pronounce it. But I'm never gonna watch any of these movies. I just like watching people talk about these scenes, and then they'll show the scene, and I'll pee a little and never watch it again. Like it's some ghost, but like they look like a human standing in a dress in darkness, and they just like walk really creepy toward the camera and like kind of limp their leg down a little bit. And it doesn't sound scary, but like it is like I freak out in the hallway now. Like I am terrified. Like it's
I
the
like it
uncanny
though.
valley aspect of it. Like it's yeah, horror is something that I need to appreciate more, but I am such a scary boy.
I really like
Sorry.
horror as a genre has been something that I've always liked, and like it took me a long time to like admit it.
Mhm.
But horror video games, which I don't like Resident Evil. I feel like a lot of Resident Evil stuff just doesn't work for me in terms of horror, and I don't like the camera angle, and there's a lot of weird things. But Fear, any chance I get to talk about Fear, the Fear franchise is awesome.
Is that
Fear,
no, that's darkness.
FEAR. What?
Is Fear the one with the dude, like the mobster with the monster guys on his shoulders? Like they come out of the back and you can.
He's not a
Or is
I
that
think you're right.
monster.
That's Darkness. I think
I
that.
think
Darkness? Okay.
you could be thinking of Prototype too. I don't
No,
know.
I know.
Oh,
What
Prototype
is.
was so fucking good.
I didn't like Prototype, but Fear. All right, now we're talking. The first Fear was way ahead of its time. Like it did a bunch of slow motion shit and like actually good shooting mechanics, and then had a cool horrific story. Like genuinely, it was. And the story is kind of Kojima-esque in a way, but in the good ways. Like Fear is fantastic. It's not really playable now because like it's old. Like old game is old. Like it doesn't feel good. But like at the time, that was way ahead of its time. It's so good. Fear 2 is like in my top 40 games of all time. Love it.
Horror is a
Scary.
great genre that gets no respect, and it drives me absolutely crazy. Like, especially now with the work that A24 is doing, where like I will never watch Midsummer again, but even outside of a horror movie, that movie is phenomenal. Like amazingly well acted, amazingly well directed. It's beautiful visually. Like the scenes where they're on drugs are like stunning to look at. And it does horror really well in like a way that you don't expect, and it doesn't use jump cuts or jump scares for the most part. It's like, but if you want to get more into horror, Bo, I highly recommend the Haunting of Hill House series and Haunting of Bly Manor on Netflix.
I'm ghosts and stuff. Don't like it. Just doesn't do it for me most of the time. Like I've seen the Paranormal Activity movies. Not that those are good examples of not. I know that those are bad movies. I know, but
Sorry.
just
You'd
Not
be
even the girl.
surprised.
I've
She
realized that
actually
like
loves those.
Oh, I do love those movies, and I watch them every Halloween.
I
But
I really like the first one. I think if they would have just stopped with the first one and not made it a franchise, it would still be like a cult thing. I think there'd be a fan base for that movie.
the best
didn't
ones,
they? Go ahead.
yes.
No, I realized that the thing I was going to ask was dumb because I immediately answered it with. Go ahead.
Yeah. The best one is the first one is the best. Paranormal 3 is also very like Paranormal 3 is actually very good. I like the story they set up in it. It's the most believable one, and it plays on some really cool things that I think directly inspired Hereditary. So I would say it's like 1, 3, right? 3 is when they're little kids. Yeah, 1, 3, 2, 4. And then the spin-offs are stupid. Don't watch the spin-offs. I'm very excited for 5 though. I'm excited to see them wrap it up. I'm curious how they're gonna do it.
If you want to watch and get like the full franchise that matters, literally just stop at 3. In my opinion, don't even watch 4 because it goes a weird direction near the end, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and they're gonna have to wrap that up in 5. They tied it back into the original story in a way that I don't think people were prepared for. And like when you watch them all together, all in chronological, not the release order, chronological order, 4 makes more sense, but they never tell you to do that. So like I don't think it works. But I'm excited to see how they wrap it up in 5. However, on Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor. Why I would recommend those is even if ghost stuff doesn't like really like do it for you, the ghosts aren't ghosts the way you would think they are.
Explain.
It's very so there is a haunting, but the haunting isn't just there to scare the inhabitants. It's very representative of something else, and most of the ghosts are more mental psychological ghosts of the individual characters rather than an actual haunting.
Okay.
Which is
Yeah,
very interesting to see it played with for Haunting of Hill House. Anyways, Bly Manor does a whole other. The ghost represents something completely different. But yes, Austin, I'm sorry.
Oh, no need to apologize. I would say that The Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor are very similar to like the drama-esque shows where you're watching a detective drama and you really want to see who the killer is. It's a lot like that. Like
Okay.
the sense of drama and the suspense it feels a lot like that. Honestly.
Maybe I
But
just
there are
am
better
more
character
towards
moments though.
suspense than horror. Maybe that's what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Because
And
I loved Parasite because I was like,
oh,
I'm not
bring it
gonna.
up.
I was terrified until the end, but
Yeah.
like as I'm looking back, I'm like it's kind of more a comedy than anything. But like
Mhm.
the first time you see it, it's tense and suspenseful
That
the
movie
entire time.
is like the first movie I ever watched where I'm like, this doesn't have a genre. Like there is no genre for this movie. Like it could fit in like every category, in my opinion. It could honestly go in every single one. It has elements of everyone and it's done super well the way they do it too.
Oh, I was gonna try to. I was like thinking of all the different genres, and I was like, coming of age story, kind of. If it's fucked up, if you really want to, if you really want to put it that way, it's kind of just a fucked up. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just Parasite.
I
it all-
literally
It's really good.
Yeah.
So does it fit into the musical genre?
no.
Yes,
Well,
yes. There's a surprise dance number. Damien Chazelle came in, did some shots. It's fantastic.
I will say though, outside the musical genre, as Jordan brought up, I literally just had a lecture about like genre doesn't really exist anymore, and like modern filmmakers like Noah Baumbach and Mike Flanagan and oh my god, what's his name? Who does all the stuff with A24? All I can think of is Aziz Ansari, and that's not it.
Jordan
Did
Peele.
Devs?
It was
No,
Key and
not
Peele
Jordan
guy.
Peele.
Oh,
Jordan
okay, nice.
Peele isn't. I mean, Get Out might be A24. Hang on, he wrote
No,
Hereditary and Midsummer. What is his name? Ari Aster.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was on tip of my tongue.
Ari Aster.
No.
He directed Hereditary and Midsummer.
Cool. I still haven't seen Midsummer for the record.
And he is everything M. Night Shyamalan wants to be.
Ooh.
He is absolutely amazing. I also highly recommend his short film, What Happened to the Joneses. It's great and super fucked up.
Sounds
But
like Parasite.
Uh,
Just in title.
a suspense / horror movie I would really recommend. I'm going to double check on its name right now because there's like two things. I would say don't look up anything about this movie other than where you can find it, because the idea is that like what you think is the like whatever type of genre it is, like is it a slasher flick, is it a paranormal flick, etc., it's not what you think it is, and it's very cool.
What is it called?
Dark
He's different.
Skies.
Why does it sound familiar?
why do I
Carrie
know that?
Russell, Josh Hamilton, and J.K. Simmons are in it.
J.K. Simmons?
Oh, that's why I know. I've seen this movie.
Yeah.
Oh my! Wait, has anyone here seen Take Shelter with Michael Shannon?
No.
Because I saw a trailer for it one time years ago and was like, this is going to be my movie of the year, and then couldn't find it in theaters anywhere near me. And then
Oh, you like? Sorry,
I really
No,
like
I-
that movie.
I like that. Sorry, Bo. Keep going.
no, it's fine. Like I was just it ultimately comes down to I may or may not have had a fever dream about some movie that I imagined. So we'll
It's
be
called
okay.
Take Shelter, you said?
Yeah, and I'm sure it exists and I can watch it because we live in a on-demand streaming world. But just
Wait,
as
were you
a-
talking to me or
Oh,
Bo when you said
this
you
is
liked
a-
that movie?
I was talking to you, Jordan.
Okay.
Take Shelter is actually a very good movie with Jessica Chastain. I highly recommend it. You like Dark Skies?
Okay, so listen, I started watching it at a birthday party and had to leave early. Literally was so excited to like see what would happen. I went home, my cousins were sleeping over. I was like, I will rewatch the first half of this movie with you guys if you watch the rest of it with me, because I need, like, I don't know.
You're a sucker for Blumhouse. Every
Am
horror
I?
movie you like is a Blumhouse
Am I?
production.
No,
Like,
so I was gonna say,
and Blumhouse is not known for good horror.
I've watched different types of horror movies, but I truly think my favorite is the slasher flicks. But I know that those are like outdated at this point.
If you like slasher flicks, it's not a serious horror movie, but it's a great movie. Watch The Babysitter on Netflix. It's a great movie. Highly recommend. I could
You
do
know
that literally all night.
Yeah, I just like the dynamics of the slasher flicks.
What movie I really want to watch that I haven't seen yet, and even if it's bad, I still want to watch it just to experience it, is Brightburn. Remember this movie? It's like if Superman was
Yes.
evil.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh
I
yeah,
really
yeah,
want to
yeah.
watch that.
That
I haven't
looks
seen it, but I
good.
really want to.
I haven't I was very excited for it. It came out and then I stopped hearing things about it, so I just assumed that it was one of those like flash in the pan. Oh, the marketing's really good, but the movie itself is not that.
It's James Gunn's cousins wrote it. Yeah.
From what I heard,
I-
it's good, but not anything to like lose your mind over.
Yeah.
You also-
Nothing to write home about.
Disclaimer: Max Landis is a horrible person, and this is like well documented on the internet. But have y'all seen Chronicle?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Chronicle was not a horror movie, but like it was fantastic.
Chronicle's one of those movies that has a cult following. Like people love
Chronicle I watched and it was pretty cool, and I was like, oh fuck. And apparently, before we all knew that Max Landis was a piece of shit, he was originally going to helm the 2017 Power Ranger script, and it was going to take a lot of Chronicle, which the one that ended up coming
Oh,
out
this shit.
kind of has some parallels, but like it was going to be more, and I would have fucked with that. I think his official script is out there on the internet.
I mean, not to dip back into movies that are bad that we really enjoy, but I unironically liked the Power Rangers movie from what?
I don't think it was
2016,
bad. I
2017?
don't think it was a great
No.
movie, but it was good. And like, yeah, like it stood on its own. Like it wasn't that bad. It could have used a little bit more camp and slightly less seriousness.
Mhm.
And I just think that it's an inherently hard IP to adapt because you have to do you have to introduce an origin story for 5 people at once.
Yeah.
But like, it wasn't bad.
I give it like a 6.57. That's why I was holding up 7. Yeah, it was good.
Like, I'm not gonna stand here and say that or sit here and say that I didn't tear up when I saw or heard the Power Rangers theme blast.
Sure.
Like,
Of course.
just the shot of all of the Zords and like, or Zords?
Zords. But
Zords.
I wish they had that's one of the things where I'm like, they should have played into it more, because all they did was take one of the re-recordings, but like not the one from the actual show. I think the one from the original movie where it was like more rock themed, and they used 3 seconds of it. I was like, guys, fucking give it to us as an instrumental, the way that like any like
Mulan
famous
did?
theme that like has now been adapted into like a more serious movie, they find a way to slip those in. Like every Spider-Man adaptation has found a way to slip in the like corny ass 60s theme song.
Yeah, the Power
Stop
Rangers
letting you
movie
tell.
to me was like, it didn't feel like a Power Rangers movie, like how you remember it as a kid at all. But I also don't think they were going for that at all.
You can't.
So like, yeah, exactly. They were making it slightly more mature, and I feel like that could have easily been like a 3 out of 10. Like that could have easily fell.
I
but
could
it
give
was
my-
fine. It was good.
I have a great idea for how a Power Rangers movie should be, just not go, just like direct it, but I was going to save it for an episode of Pitch It.
Okay, as I said, we don't have enough time for that. But I was like, if you want to, you can give me the 1-sentence summary.
Oh, I mean, I don't have too much. I just think that like, considering it's an ensemble movie that has to balance a little bit of camp and a little bit of seriousness, and includes like introducing these really weird elements all at once. I just feel like James Gunn should make a Power Rangers movie. Like
James Gunn should just
Scooby-Doo
make-
and Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad kind of all fit the things that I'm saying.
Okay.
Any ensemble movie should be directed by James Gunn.
Yeah.
he does it the best.
If you want more information on that, wait for an episode to Pitch It. So thank you all so much for joining us on this Waypoint podcast that kind of turned into a media club episode. Yeah. So appreciate you watching. Click that like button, subscribe, because we are finally over 200 subscribers. So let's keep that number growing.
We did it, Mom.
And we will see you at the next Waypoint.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.